got it on the, if you have any window, you need to click got it. So acknowledging for the broadcast. So.
Right, we're reading the Gita. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Chapter 327. Important verse. All of them are important, but it's one of the popular important. This is Prakriti. You don't show the thing online, but if everyone has a book in the Bhagavad-gita 333, 327. Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha ahankara vimudhatma karta hamiti manyate. Prakriti kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasha ahankara vimudhatma. So the words mean Prakriti. The Prakriti is the material of the material nature. Kriyamanani, being done. Gunai, by the modes. Karmani, Gunai karmani sarvashaha. All kinds. Sarvasha means all kinds. I hope everyone has the Gita. And ahankara vimudha, bewildered by false ego. Atma, the spirit soul. Karta, doer. Aham, I, iti, das, manyate, he thinks. Which means the spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. Spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, thinks himself the doer of activities which are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. Purport: two persons, one in Krishna consciousness and the other in material consciousness, working on the same level, may appear to be working on the same platform, but there's a wide gulf of difference in their respective positions. The person in material consciousness is convinced by false ego that he is the doer of everything. He doesn't know that the mechanism of the body is produced by material nature, which works under the supervision of the Supreme Lord. The materialistic person has no knowledge that ultimately he is under the control of Krishna. The person in false ego takes all credit for doing everything independently, and that is a symptom of his nescience. He does not know that this gross and subtle body is the creation of material nature under the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and as such his bodily and mental activities should be engaged in the service of Krishna and Krishna consciousness. The ignorant man forgets that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is known as Rishikesha, or the master of the senses. Rishika, Isha, Rishikesha. Rishika is the senses, and Isha is the Lord. Isha vashamidam sarvam jagat, jam jagat. So Isha means Lord. Isha, master of the senses of the material body. For due to his long misuse of the senses and sense gratification, he is factually bewildered by the false ego, which makes him forget his eternal relationship with Krishna. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshumalitam Jena Tasmai Shri Rave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Tapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupagada Mayam Dadati Swapadantikam Bandeham Shigaro Shiyutavadakamalam Shigarum Vaishnavam Shah Shirupam Sagvajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Itam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shivisha Gavidam Hey Krishna Kalina Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. Panchagopatruvyascha Kripasindudevacha Patitanam Bhavanigo Vaishnavigo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Bhakti Kriyamanan Gunai Karmani Sarvasa Ahankara Vimudhatma Kartamiti Manyate. This chapter's been building up. The previous verses have talked about people working in different mentalities and how some people are described as ignorant, like the last verse, Agyanam. Agyanam Karma Sanginam. So in that verse, in the last verse, one is told, don't disrupt the minds. The Buddhi Bhedam Janayed of the ignorant men who are attached to prescribed duties. A learned person should not induce them to stop work. Rather, by working in the spirit of devotion, he should engage them in all sorts of activities for the gradual development of Krishna consciousness. So Arjuna, in this whole Bhagavad Gita, he is simultaneously of course, he's a great devotee, eternal associate of Krishna. At the same time, he's acting in this mode of false ego, sort of you could say. Sometimes it's described he's acting as independent, and because he's identifying with the body, which is here described in this purport about the body. When you think you're the doer, you think you're the body's doing everything. So we get many lessons about this throughout Gita, but especially in Bhagavatam, it's illustrated widely and described vividly in more and more detail about Ahankara. Ahankara is the connecting point between the material world as the ropes, Ahankara, Vimudhatma. And the word here is colorful also, that Vimudha, Abhijanati Ma Mudha, Malshintanam. So the Mudha, for those who are not familiar with this term, it's sometimes described as a Mudha is like an ass, donkey animal. He's the personification, although there are many others, but the poor donkey is, because he's chasing after something in the material world. The donkey, especially other animals, but especially he's carrying a lot of weight, and a poor unfortunate animal not realizing that the master who is tempting him with like a carrot or some grass, and he's chasing that, he will never catch that thing. So similarly, if we act, and although we're human beings, if we act like donkey, mule, ass in the material world, then we're called bimudha. Bimudha. The animal donkey is called muda, but if a human acts like a donkey, then he gets added to a V. V means specifically or emphasized, or one sometimes probably described it as 1,000 times ass, 1,000 times ass. Because human being was meant a tato brahma jigyasa, to inquire only about who am I? Keami kene ama jare tapotroy. Keami means who am I? He's meant for questioning who am I, and understanding also the answer. Janma adyasya yataha. Janma yasyato andayat itaratas chartisva abhigyasara. That we are not the doer. Everything's carried out by the modes of nature. just see how foolish, how much suffering is going on in the world just based on this idea, the bodily concept. All suffering is going on, one degree or another, small suffering up to the greatest war. I am so and so. I am this person. In the Bhagavatam, we have the example of Jad Bharat, and he had multiple lives, but as a avadut Brahmana, he was fully covered over, covered in the sense that one could not detect who he was. He was the greatest self-realized person. In his previous life, he'd been a deer. Before that, he'd been a great king. But when after becoming a deer, he was fully realized, even as a deer, in a deer body, that previously I was so attached to some deer little baby fawn, and therefore I got this material body of a deer. So he was especially careful to only associate in the ashrams of great sages. He would, of course, he's a deer. They don't know who he is. He's eating some grass, some leaves. So when he was born again as a great self-realized person, he was wandering around. He was at one point taken by the king, Rahugana, and that king, he required one palanquin carrier because one guy, something happened to him. So the other palanquin, they need 4 palanquin to carry the king. And undoubtedly there were others around. King is surrounded by different guards, but the palanquin carrier, they required one strong man. So they saw Jad Bharat, they grabbed him and said, okay, now he's the king, you carry this, no questions asked, you just carry it, he's the king, he's ordering everybody, telling us what to do. So he was carrying the palanquin also, but he had full realization he did not want to step on anything, any insect. So he was kind of walking very strangely, sometimes if there's some ants, you want to avoid stepping on them. Of course, ordinary persons, they might not avoid such a thing, but he's a self-realized person. He's simply seeing the spirit soul there and the ant or the insect. So he was walking. That the palanquin was shaking around, so that king became disturbed. What is going on here? I am the king. I don't want to be shaken around. Why is this going on? They said, oh, King Raj, please, don't blame us. No. There's one new man we had to take. He is jumping all over and we don't know what he's doing. And it continued like that for some time till the king was angry. Started really chastising him. He said, look, I see you're not very strong, although Jad Bharat was built very strong. He was very sarcastic and very cutting. But then he spoke after some time. Jad Bharat spoke. Oh, such a beautiful voice. Gentle voice, with very commanding and beautiful. And he gave such knowledge. He said, yes, you are thinking you are the king of this place and I am your servant. But actually, at any time in a different life, you may become the servant, I may become king. There are so many entities in this world, stones and trees, and they're not moving. And then there's moving entities, animals and humans, and those humans are also made, although they have ankles and shoulders like we do, and we're cow, and they're made also of earth, fire, water, all these material elements. And they're moving. The stones may not be moving. So we're moving, but the same elements are coming in. And pravishtani, they enter in, just as Krishna enters in to this material world. He stays separate. Aham evasam agre. In the second canto, there's the statement of Krishna speaking to Brahma in the nutshell verses, original verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam. He says, aham, I am. Not, he is the ultimate. person. Aham evasam. Before all these entities existed, anything was there. Aham evasam. Agre means before. Only I existed. Aham evasam evagre. Nanya yatsa sattaram pascharaham yaritascha yoga shisheti sosmi. And while everything's going on, I am also existing. Actually, factually, Vasudev Sarvamiti. Everyone is my part and parcel. So you can say I am existing here and maintaining everything. Vasudev Sarvamiti. Aham evasam. Vasudeva parang jnanam. The ultimate goal of life is Vasudeva. So Krishna is speaking like this. Beginning, at the end, and when everything is gone, simply I exist. Everyone exists, but in a very dormant stage, just simply control. Maya Vyakshena Prakriti. Here is mentioned the Prakriti. This Prakriti is going on under the supervision of Krishna. Maya Vyakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharaksha Ketanane Konte Jagat Viparivakite. This whole Jagat. Actually, the word Jagat means universe. It means Jaga, coming, and God, going. It's coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. So in this way, the Jad Bharat was preaching, speaking to the king in a very wonderful way. Yes, you think you're king, but so you're acting very like commanding everyone. But factually, you have no power to command. You are fully under the molds of nature, as described in Gunai Karmani Svabhasya. You're thinking you're the doer. Ahankara literally means, ahang means I, and kara means doing. I am the doer. I am the doer. I am the doer. So as soon as we think, anyone thinks, I am doer, immediately you can understand you're a fool. Vimudha. Vimudha. Prabhupada said, as soon as anyone, it doesn't matter who in this material world, be the greatest scientific brain, the greatest musician, anyway, but very easily you can, anytime, even a detached devotee, anyone can slip into mind and think, I am the doer, I am the doer. Ahamta means that I am doing everything. Ahamta and mamata, everything is mine. Mamahamiti manyate. In the second canto, there's one verse, Mamahamiti manyate. He thinks that he is doer, everything belongs to me first and foremost. So whoever's in my way, of course, most people are not going to, but they're looking out for themselves. They're looking out for their family, my family. Dehinam Ashrita. 16th chapter of Gita describes this mentality, aso hatamaya shatru, when one becomes too much in this bodily concept, he doesn't mind, he will destroy anyone in his path. I am surrounded by all my great relatives or whoever. I am very great. Ishvaroham. I am Ishvara. There's no other Lord, but I am Ishvara. Ishvaroham, me. I am controlling, I'm the Lord. Any moment he can be cut down in 1 second. We're finished. And our material existence is just like described. Kamala Dala Jala Jivana Talamala. Kamala Dala Jala Jivana Talamala. Kamala is the lotus leaf, or Kamala Dala. Dala is a leaf and the Kamala is a lotus. So the lotus leaf is very slippery, waterproof, you can say. And any leaf is, but especially lotus leaf. In the water, it's made to be waterproof. And at any moment, if there's a drop of water, boom, it drips right off. So our life is described like that. Kamala Jivana Talama. Bhajaho Haripada. So what is the advice then? Shravana Kirtana, Smarana Bandhana. That while in this body, one should perform Shravana Kirtana, hearing and chanting the spiritual sound vibration. Shravana Kirtana, Smarana, and remembering. Without hearing and chanting, it won't be possible to remember. What will we remember? So the mind is just like taking all these impressions from hearing, from chanting. Shinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantasto, because the Hridya means the heart. So this ahankara enters into the heart. So it's contaminated consciousness. Chitta means consciousness. And so their consciousness is also in the heart. It's infecting us in this material world. Cheto darpana marjanam. It's like a mirror, but that mirror is all dusty. From time immemorial, we're taking material births, and we have to cleanse that mirror, because otherwise we stay attached in this material. Utkramantam stitam vapi. Later in the Bhagavad-gita, these words are used, prakriti, again and again. So especially in, I'm thinking chapter 15, describing utkramantam stitam vapi bunjanam va gananvitam. That someone who doesn't have spiritual vision, he cannot see how a living entity is separate from his body. He is thinking that the body and the person are one. If he sees a small kid or an old lady, he thinks the old lady is the body, the little kid. That's someone who is intelligent. He's not thinking. He's thinking that small kid is going to become that old lady, that small, little, beautiful, cute girl. She's very cute. Oh, so wonderful. But she's walking with her great grandmother. She will become also. Hopefully she'll live, become old. Not identifying. So vimudha nanupashyanti. The mumudha is described here. He nanupashyanti. Pashyanti means to see. He cannot see that. Vimudha nanupashyanti. Pashyanti jnana. But those who are jnana chetasa or shastra chakush, jnana chakshu, they see through the shastra. They see how it's all happening. They're not vimudha. Avijananti ma mudha. So the mudha, we don't want to. It's like Kaviraj Goswami in his Chaitanya Charitamrita. He's describing that I'm giving very, very confidential knowledge here, and so I just want to say, I take the dust of the feet of all my readers, whoever is hearing what I'm saying. He's also saying that Jagai Mare Hoite Mui Se Papishta. I am more sinful than Jagai Madai. They're the worst sinners, but I am worse. Still, he's presenting he's very humble, but he's presenting this very confidential knowledge. And he has some concern that some people might read it, but they're not qualified. He said, that's okay if they're not qualified. He says that Bujibe Rasika Bhakta. The Rasikas who can relish this knowledge, hearing about Mahaprabhu, about Krishna, Bujibe, they will understand it, they will relish. Bujibe, Rasika Bhakta. Bujibe means they will understand it. And it says, not Bujibe Mudha. These Vimudha Mudhas, they won't get it. Therefore, he said, so I'm feeling kind of okay. I'm a little jubilant. Not because they're suffering, but because automatically they won't understand it anyway. I mean, so he's saying like that. So Bujibe Rasika Bhakta. So one has to purify this ahankar. Like Prabhupada or any strong sannyasis, gurus, they try to engage, as is mentioned here, try to engage, like the last verse said, people who are in illusion, try to engage them in all sorts of activities. In the beginning, most people, not everyone, some people could sit down and study and hear and chant, and okay, here, you chant now 100 rounds every day, 64. Prabhupada came and he said, okay, everyone chant 64 rounds. But most of the devotees were like looking at each other, 64 rounds, oh my God. I mean, they were chanting already 8, 16, but they just said, Swamiji, we cannot do. But Prabhupada was taxing Chaturya Pars, described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita 7th chapter, that Mahaprabhu is very clever. Chatur means clever. And apar means unlimited clever tricks, how to engage people. Even Mahaprabhu's biggest trick. He has no business to become sannyasi, but he took sannyas so that people will give more respect. So by hook or crook, yena tena prakarena, we try to engage people to cleanse them of this false ego has been haunting us since time immemorial. Anadi karma, see the karma described by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Anadi karma pale paribhavanana vajale. This pale, the fruits were always after these temporary fruits. Antavatu palam tesham tad bhavati alpa. They're alpa. Those who want these temporary fruits, they don't understand there are eternal, much more delicious fruits. Mahaprabhu is ordering everyone, he says, take these fruits. Mahaprabhu himself is the tree producing all these wonderful fruits of love of God. And he says, Ami Agya, I order everyone in this world to eat the fruits of love of God. This is the praying fall. Take these fruits, eat them, and distribute, because these fruits are unlimited. Panchatattva, ekavastu, nahi kichube. They show the example that Panchatattva means five. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu doesn't appear alone, but he has so many associates. It's described there in the 11th canto that he's coming with his associates, and they enjoy pastimes with each other and with many other devotees. So Panchatattva ekavastu, although they're eka, one substance, but they're also different at the same time. Achincha, Veda, they're same and different. And they're having so many pastimes and not just one dry thing. That's not attractive. So there we have the most attractive philosophy. How every detail is given, every pastime. Not every, we wouldn't mind if everyone was given, but we have so much. Even one drop is like an ocean. So this one drop creates an ocean of love of God in this material world. To distribute, when people eat the fruits of this love of God and their pet body, means their stomachs are full, and they're rolling, gada gadi jai, they're rolling on the ground. Hase kande nachi gai. Hase means they're laughing, kande, and crying, hase kande nachi, and dancing and chanting. And then the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda, Dvaita Gadadhar, Srivas, they are laughing and very happy. It's expanding Vistarite throughout all this world, ever expanding. The storehouses of love of God that is Panchatattva, where they broke in, they plundered this storehouse of love of God. It was being kept unopened, that they Satta Bari Jai. The more they distribute it, the more it increases. Rising tide carries all the ships. So this is the rising. Lord Chaitanya's moon is rising. This ocean is rising. Avatirne, Gorachandri Vestirne, Prema Sagare is called the Prema Sagare. Premambudo is the ocean of Prema, love of God. But this is the one way, engage people. Even when there's not too much realization, somebody comes and from the street, can you do this? Even Wino came in 26th Avenue. He put some toilet paper, and Prabhupada was very satisfied. Let's see, he's kind of he's not in order, Prabhupada said. He's just he is not in order. He came in and when he left, there he said something, and he just put that. So anyone can do, even a dog can chant. If one tries to practice some dry meditation, it doesn't last, it's not attractive. But the chanting is there. Most all yoga groups nowadays, they have to do some chanting. It's like mandatory. It wasn't going on. There was some Om. I remember when I was in the 60s, 50s, there was some Om going like that. I used to go to some yoga studio. They chanted Om, but now everyone is kirtan, because it's navam navam, rasa navam navam. This rasa is increasing. So Gaurachandra Bole, he's waking us up. Wake up out of your slumber of false ego. Jeev jago, utishtata jagrata. Wake up. This is the Vedic aphorism from the Upanishad. Utishtata means get up. Utishtata jagrata prapya brahmanabodhita. Prapya brahmanabodhita means you got a great boon. Baram, a great boon. Because Krishna gives all kinds of boons, but the greatest boon is got this human form of life. Nri deham ajam, surabam sudurabam. It's very difficult to get it, but it's very wonderful. Dogs, cats, others, animals, they cannot comprehend. Sometimes they do something also. They a little bit, some are better than a lot of humans, but basically they won't be able to understand. Though if we don't do it, this is called atmaha, or the killing of the soul, of your own soul. So nrideham ajam surabam sudurabam. So the wind, the basfitaritam, there, the good wind is blowing this boat. The boat has a captain. We accept our spiritual master, the guru, as the captain of the ship. Sandar shito dapta dushtaram nistitir shatam kalim sataharam pum sam karnadari varo. Karnadara is a captain in Sanskrit. Ivarnavam means this ocean. We accept you as the captain of the ship to pass over this difficult ocean of Kali Yuga. And it's Sattvaharam. Sattvaharam means it steals all the good qualities. There's false ego. It's also broken into goodness, passion, and ignorance. When it says Prakriti, this is the here. Prakriti Kriyamana, your material nature. So there's the aspect of goodness. There's still Prakash, there's better to be in the mode of goodness, but still considered ahankara. That's described there in the 14th chapter, the different modes of nature in detail. What are the like passion, taijasa, tamasa, the tamagum is described there, that nidra lashahata, sukar jivarata. Nidra means sleeping, don't want to do anything. Passion is also better to be, sometimes better to be ignorant, don't do anything, than to cause, like a monkey. Monkey's not, he's passionate, but tiger, if the tiger comes, everybody is running. This is really mode of passion. And the mode of passion is shown, the result is also anger, ultimately. Kam, krodha, adichai. Pata parideya. Kama, krodha, they're like thugs. They tie us up. Asha, pasha, shatar, bada, kama, krodha, parayana, kama, krodha. Asha, pasha means these. It's described there in the 16th chapter of the Gita. Asha, pasha, shatar, hundreds of them. So we have to cut it. Vidyate. The first canto describes Vidyate hridaya granti. The heart is in a knot of false ego. These modes are tied in a big knot and can't get out. Just like you're bound with hands and legs. I saw one picture of a looter. I don't even think he was, I don't know if he was a Russian or, but in Ukraine, and they tied him up in plastic and they stripped down and they took his pants off. It was very humiliating. So he was looting some store or something. This is how they, so we're tied up. It could be ropes, it could be plastic. Couldn't move. That's the point. So vidyate hridaya granti chidanti sarasanksha kshanti chashakarmani drishta. So drishta means to see. When the heart becomes purified, how does it get purified? Mahaprabhu Chaitanya says how. Chaitadarpana marjana bhava madhava First, he describes Bhava Mahadavagni. We're burning. Right now, we're peaceful, but in some parts of the world, there's bombs flying. You know, anytime your whole building is on fire, everyone you know and the whole building is killed like that. So there's a burning, and there's burning in the heart. Bhava Mahadavagni. Davagni means the forest fire. Nirvapanam Shreya Kairavachandi. It has to be extinguished, Shreya Kairavachandi, by the cooling moon rays. Cooling moon. Sometimes it's the cloud is described. Some sort of the cloud. The spiritual masters bring the cloud of mercy to extinguish this burning, this fire, this knot in the heart. There's many descriptions of it. You know, this, how just like when you read the fourth canto of Puranjana and how he's on a chariot as a body and there's explosive weapons in a chariot and the false ego is there and sometimes Narad Muni, we have this pastime, he's speaking to the sons of Daksha. He's describing 10 objects. Very, very powerful analogies, allegories there, like the prostitute, the mind is always trying to trick us into this is now this thing will be good, this will be good. You know, just like the prostitute, she changes clothes or she wears very alluring clothes. But the devotees, they stick to one simple mode of dress. They don't go for this, you know, they have nothing to do with this modes of dress. And so this is very uplifting. And so Narad Muni was giving Kimasat Kama Bir Babet. What will all these things do? It's Asat, Asate Vilas, Narottam Das Thakur is saying, Satsangachari, as soon as I give up the association of the devotees, Sakam Prasangam, the sadhus, as soon as I give that up, Asate Vilas, I try to enjoy in the material world. There has to be always this desires there, either trying to associate with the devotees and attending some kirtan or some lectures or something like that, or some harinam or some seva. If not, then always the mind. It's like the razor's edge. Old example from Upanishads. Shashidhara nishita dharatya durgam patastat kavilda. Shashidhara means the sharp edge of a razor. Nishita. So as one shaving, it's very functional, but it makes a mistake. Of course, they had only those straight edge razors and had the safety razors as we have, but still you can cut yourself even with a safety razor. And if you don't manipulate it right, you'll be cut, there'll be blood, or it can be worse. You can be on the highway, if you a very nice car. You know, recently I got a better car. For some reason it was being sold cheap. I thought, oh, well, I'm getting old. I have extra cash. I'll just get this nice car. A Camry, okay. Some people are driving a $28 million car. There's some popular singer. They got a $28 million car. A $28 million car. I mean, like when you think it boggles the mind, like you could feed the whole country with that money. But still, doesn't matter if you have a $28 million car, you can still be crushed by a truck driving down the road, even in your $28 million car. Maybe you have diamonds on it or some gold or it's bulletproof or still, everything's subject to termination in this material world. And the more we always identify with it. So therefore Mahaprabhu is saying, purify it. Chaitra Darpana Marjanam Bhava Madhava Shekhara Chandrika Patana Vidyavadu. Vidyavadu Jivana means that we have to cultivate knowledge of Krishna. We have to read, not just chanting is good, we have to chant. Sometimes we say there's no need to read book, but it's important to know the philosophy, or else we wouldn't stick to the chanting. At any time then you can fall. It probably even said that some big sannyasis, and then all of a sudden they fell into Maya. They became like demons or something, because the mind wasn't really fixed. They were just walking around like in a sannyasi clothes or something. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, purify the heart, Chaitadarpanamar, get rid of the dust that's in the heart, the ropes, cut them. And the spiritual master, he can cut with the sharpened sword. Yadanudyasina karma grantani bandina. Yadanudyasina, the sharpened sword of knowledge. The Gita says that in the 15th chapter. Also, karmano bandini manusha, this karma bondage, it's cut. How? With the sharp sword of detachment, asanga shastrena. So knowledge and detachment, they kind of go together. And one gets, if he's not detached, then the knowledge wasn't really, just theoretical knowledge. It's not there really in the settled in the brain, in the heart. Jnana Vijnana Chittatma. So Mahaprabhu is very nice. One very nice verse Sarvabhauma has written, that Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga, that he's glorifying Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that he's Vairagya Vidya Nija Bhakti Yoga. He's the personification of detachment and knowledge. And what else? Nija Bhakti Yoga. He's giving bhakti, his own bhakti, Nija Bhakti Yoga. Shikshartam, and he's teaching. So he's teaching something. He's teaching chant Hare Krishna, but he's got so many teachings when we read it. Sambas, Ramananda Sambad, in his conversation with Ramananda and Chaitanya Jamila. He's got the big conversation with Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, especially Sanatana Goswami's conversation is 4 or 5 chapters. And there's Prakashananda, Sarvabhauma. 5 main conversations are there. And they're very important. When Prabhupada, before the Chaitanya Charita was actually fully printed, I remember in 73, we got the 7th chapter of the Adi Leela, where Chaitanya in 5 features, Panchatattva Ekavastu, Nahikitubed, there's no difference, but still they're different and they enjoy pastimes. Rasika Vivida Vived, Vivida means many varieties of pastimes. Similarly, we can enjoy so many pastimes. The same pastimes, Adya Piha, Nitya, Gauranga Roy. Even today, at any time, just by hearing about those pastimes, we are enter into the pastimes. Chinchitam, Chinchitam Bhaktas, Chaitanya Charitam Ritam. Kaviraj Goswami is blessed with, he's invoking Rupa Goswami's verse that Radha Krishna Pranayavakatiya Ladini Asmari Katmana Vibhuvi. Anyway, he's got in his first benedictory verses, he's describing that they're the sun and the moon. May they enter into your heart. Sada Hridaya Kandare. Hridaya Kandare means the cave of the heart. So the cave can be dark or it can be lit up just by taking this Chaitanya Charitamrita through the ears, the ear holes, into the heart. It dances inside your head and your tongue, and then causes the heart to dance and jubilate. Sada, always, Sada, Hridaya Kandare, Spuratu Va Sachinandana. This Sachinandana, the son of Mother Sachi, may he resplendent with gold, may he enter into the deep recesses of your heart. No, and he didn't write, even that was Rupa Goswami's verse. Sada Hridaya Kandare, Spuratu Va Sachinandana. That verse was first revealed in Puri from the Vidagda Madhava when Rupa Goswami was sat down in a very humble, at a distant place, and he was asked to recite so many verses that he had been writing. So he was very shy, so some of the verses were read by other devotees, and then that verse came. Sada Hridaya Kandare Spora Sachinandana. Chaitanya Kyam Prakatamadanam. So Lord Chaitanya didn't want to hear that verse. He was glorifying himself. He said, "This now you put some poison. You were speaking so much nectar. Now why did you put this poison, this alkali, detestable?" And everyone protested, said, "It is not poison at all. It is the greatest nectar. It's just mixed in like a special spice. Why you don't say like that?" And he didn't want to hear his own glorification. He used to put his hands on his ears. So he's always showing this example of humility. And like those sannyasi should be finished with his false ego, but Mahaprabhu showed he was the king of the sannyasis. He showed them it's not enough just to, in fact, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, when he thought he was gonna, I think Chaitanya Mahaprabhu kind of asked him, "Oh, you're a great teacher. Please teach me. And now I've taken sannyas. I don't really know the goal of life." First thing Sarvabhauma said was, "Oh, why you took sannyas anyway?" I've taught so many sannyasis. I've seen they're mostly all puffed up. They think, "Oh, I am so great. Everyone must bow to me." So what's the use? The whole reason to become sannyas is to give up the false ego, according to Krishna and Bhagavad-gita, again and again. Tasmara sakta satatam sannyasa sukham vashi. Many, many, many verses. One doesn't have to take some cloth to be a sannyasi. He can wear any cloth. He can. His mentality. Like that Gopal Krishna, when he was a householder, and he came to the airport dressed in his pants, and everything came from the office very quickly to see Prabhupada arriving. "Oh, I want to see Prabhupada. I want to see Prabhupada." He didn't think anything, put on some, but no, he didn't have time. And he apologized profusely. "Oh, Prabhupada, I'm so sorry. I came here in my suit and this and that." Prabhupada said, "No." And he quoted that verse, "Anashritya karma palam karyam karma sama," from beginning of the 6th chapter. Anashritya karma palam karyam karma. That not one, nanaragmina chakra, a sannyasi is known by its activity. So you may wear white, you may wear a suit, doesn't matter. That's not matter. You're as good as a sannyasi. He encouraged like that. Prabhupada was very encouraging. So therefore, Mahaprabhu is giving this Chaitadharvana Marjanam, and the whole Shikshastra is meant for purifying the heart. Turn out of peace, and one should be so humble. Like the tree, it doesn't ask for water. Kaviraj Goswami is describing it. Doesn't go namagibo. Even he's drying up. Shukaiya magibo. He's dry, but if we're dry, we're asking for water. Please give me some water. The tree does not. Even someone cuts the tree doesn't protest. Even he kills the tree. The tree is not protesting. So it's not easy to be as tolerant as the tree, as humble as the grass. Chinada peace and chena torora peace. Not that easy. It sounds very simple. Oh, this is a simple verse. Yes, very simple. But if you can practice that verse, then you completely give up the false ego. So one has to do that. And he's giving the solution just by this chanting. Kevalanandakam is simply blissful. Anand, there's nothing more than that. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that Nambina Kichu Nahiko Ar Chodabhuvana. In the 14 worlds, there's nothing more than this chanting. Nothing more than this chanting. Nambina Kichu. Kichu means something tiny, nothing practically. Kichu, what else is there? Nothing. Bengali is such a poetic, especially when they're written by our great acharyas. Nambina. Without that holy name, what is there in this world? There's nothing else. Nambina Kichu. Nahiko Ar. Nahiko Mami. There's nothing further. Ar means more or further. There's nothing more than that. Nambina Kichu Nahiko Chora Bhuvana Maje. Namashraya Kore Japtane Tumi Takao Apana. He says also that Namashraya, you can take shelter of the holy name. Namashraya Kore Japtane. But do it carefully. Namashraya Kore Japtane means careful. That means don't just do it casually, but do it seriously. And at least don't make offense. Try not to. Namashaya Korijata. And Taka Apanakaje means you can stay in any of you, any position you're in. And just, you can be household, you can kiba vipa kiba nyasi shuda keninai. You can be in the forest, you can be working, you can be renounced. Anyone can chant at any time, in any position, in any, so there's no restriction. Nakalaha. Nakalaha. Nadanam najanam nasundari. Of course, he's building up when he's giving us this ashtakam. He's getting a little more as you go from verse to verse. Then it's also saying in the beginning, Nadanam. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, I don't want any wealth. Most people are running around looking for money, but he's saying, Nadanam, I don't want any wealth. Nadanam, najanam nasundari. Nadanam, najanam means people following you. Everybody wants followers, or at least friends, or somebody admiring and praising us. But he's saying, no. Nadanam, najanam, nasundari. Beautiful, beautiful women described by great exalted poetry, or no question about that. Lord Chaitanya, he didn't even, when he was sannyasi, a woman couldn't go 50 feet, come within 50 feet usually. Maybe some intimate, few household ladies, but generally no. Mama Janmani Janmani Shre Bhakti Rahoti. I just want this. If I have to take another birth, that's okay. But Mama Janmani Janmani Shre Bhakti. Let there always be pure bhakti. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was preaching like also. I don't want to take birth as Lord Brahma if I can't get association of devotees. So this is a satsanga. Satsanga makyana sukhabahena. This Kali Yuga is very bad. There's all bad things, mode of ignorance, every reason to get wrapped up in the false ego, stay in the bodily concept. But still, there's one good thing. Satsanga makyana sukhabahena. Association. Satsanga makyana sukhabahena. Why sukhabahena? It gives happiness. There's other things are just illusory happiness, but when we get the association of the sadhus, and what is everyone knows that it's any association with the material energy, it brings misery. It's described there by Kapila Dev. But then he says, but those who are wise, they know that that same attachment, sangha, then if you make that with sadhu kritam, with the sadhus, then you become detached from this material world. Sangha Shastrena. So the basic ideas given in outline is here in Bhagavad-gita. You can always come back and read it. It's amazing. And the amazing thing is, if you read it, then all the other things come in your head, and you think, oh yes, this is given here, and this is given this and the fourth. I saw this that when Prithu Maharaj was so fortunate, the four Kumaras came to visit him, and of course they remained like 5-year-old boys. They're glowing like fire, and they're sitting on Vyasasana. They're described that they're senior even to Lord Shiva and everybody, although they're looking like 5 years old. So the Prithu Maharaj got up with all his ministers, and they ran so fast, just like an ordinary person runs toward the material energy, just like insects, they fly into the fire. I remember in Mayapur back in the 70s when I was there, there were some seasons where the bugs would come into the light, this material energy. And in the morning, we have to sweep up a lot of bugs. It was like unbelievable, you know. They only live for that one night, for a few moments, and they're gone. They just, I don't know what they were ordinarily. Maybe some of them don't fly into the lights and they live a little longer. I don't know, but these bugs just live for a very short time. And so if if you have your false ego, then you can bring it to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes. Krishna Chaitanya Doya Koroho Vichar Vichar Karlete Chitti Pape Chamatkar. You'll get something really great and amazing. Kaviraj Goswami says that Krishna Chaitanya Doya Koroho Vichar. You should, Vichar means you should study these pastimes. So that requires something. Not that we don't chant, of course. We do everything, but bring our mind to those. We enter into those pastimes, and that is the mercy of Mahaprabhu Chaitanya Doya Parama Karuna, the supreme Parama Karuna, the supreme mercy Doya. Krishna Chaitanya Doya Koroho Vichar Vichar Pavi Chamatkar, and he says you'll get something really chamatkar. Chamatkar means like something totally amazing. Something. Sankirtanai Kapitaro Kamalaya Taksho, because going to tie their Yugadharma Pala, they're protecting the emblems. Their eyes are lotus eyes and the long arms. And they're protecting Yugadharma, Kala Yuga Dharma, Nama Sankirtan. This Nam Sankirtan is the Yugadharma. And Jagata Nishta. And in this way, Jagata Nishta, the whole universe can be potentially saved from their burning of this false ego. And that's going on. And the Harinam goes out, people are attracted, and immediately they feel the burden of my false ego is flying away like that. So many bad birds, crows, sinful birds. It's flying off, and this heavy weight is taken off the heart. The heart is suffering, bound up. And so again and again, Bhutra Bhutra Praliyate, where Bhutra Bhutra means again and again, we're coming into this world by our attachment. Yang Yam Vapi Smaram Bhavam Tyajyate. Whatever you're thinking of when leaving the body. So if one is stuck on this material energy, then enter into a newer body, it won't get any spiritualized body. So let me see what else I might have a note. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and he's speaking like all our acharyas. Anadi Kalama Pale Paribhavana Jale. Anadi Bahirmuk. Anadi means before time. Before time. Adi means the beginning, and Anadi means there's no beginning. So from beginningless time, we've turned our face away. Krishna Bahirmuk, Anadi Bahirmuk. We've turned our face away from Krishna. We want to enjoy what's for me, what's in it for me, and that means that I want to get some adoration, some distinction, some profit. Try to get my $28 million car. Everyone else can starve, but I'll have my $28 million car. So all these things, this ahankar is dealt with scientifically in Kapila's teachings, like chapters 12, well before Kapila Devi, in 312 in the Bhagavad-gita, and several places describing exactly Mahatattva, the Kurvana, how the Mahatattva transforms from the very beginning of the creation. There's this element of false ego, which is the whole reason for this material creation. That we're lying, even when the creation is dormant, we're still sitting with our seeds of karma and beach, and when they fructify, we need to get a body to act out our karma. Sometimes we're getting this type of body, Kabu Kudra, Kabu Sudra, Kabu. Kudra means very insignificant. And Sudra, sometimes Raja, Kabu, Praja, sometimes we're the king, the Raja, Kabu Raja, Kabu Praja, sometimes we're the subject of the king. Kabu Kita Kuda. Kabu Svarge, sometimes we're going up to heaven, Kabu. Other times we're going into lower planets, Kabu Svarge. But the devotee doesn't mind. Svarga Pavarga Naraka. He's clear that he's equal. Okay. When one is finished with his false ego, then Bhakti Siddhanta, he wrote one heavy letter talking about how the sannyasis have to be finished with a false ego. He was becoming very disturbed because Korilam sannyasi, I gave them sannyas, but then they became voluptuaries, he called it, trying to enjoy. I'm sure that word is outdated, but it's understandable. But even though they took sannyas and he introduced cars even in the 1920s, but they would take the car to go get sweets. Or of course that was going on even when I was in Calcutta in the 70s, but long after Bhaktisandra's time in ISKCON also. But they would go in to get sweets. He said those sannyasis that go and under their false ego, controlled by their false ego, they're going trying to enjoy, trying to control others' wives, eating sweets or milk products, then the better they take off the sannyas clothes and dress in the white with a tail. He used the word foppish. Foppish is a really funny word to use for sannyasis, although we've seen many, like several big ones, but foppish is like little Lord Fauntleroy. You've got so many different types of clothes and very vain. The sannyasis are not, that's not inspiring for the devotee to see that. The sannyasis have to be strict and renounced. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he more than cautioned, admonishes, you can say, he wrote a 3 or 4 page letter and he used the word fop about 10 or 12 times just in a 3-page letter. Driving around. He said, when they're finished with their false ego, others will automatically serve them. No, they will automatically be served. No, they should all go barefoot. Those who are living in the mat, in the temple, the ashram, they have to serve the prasadam, do menial service. Yeah. This was Bhaktisiddhanta's mission. He didn't want to create fops. Okay, so we can leave time now for any kind of. My sound still on? Because my button wasn't on, so you wouldn't know how to call me. I guess I would hit the phone and not answer it. The question time, or did everyone go away?
We're all here, Prabhu. This is a good time for questions and answers and comments. And also your sound was very good the whole time.
I don't know what I said, but it might not be that great. At least it was audible. I probably don't have any questions because what would it be? What could we say? I didn't say anything that's stimulating, anything new.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
All right, who's that?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Okay, I got it. What's the question? What's the discussion?
So, Prabhu, this you said this Trinadapi Shunichena Taro Rivasashnena. Is it just it applies to like oneself or one's dependents? Because to give a simple example, if I have a family and I have a robber who's coming over to rob me, then I think I guess like if I have to protect my family, I have to shoot him.
Yeah, I mean, I will give you all blessings for that.
Thank you. So unfortunately, like, so I live in Jersey City, which is high crime neighborhood, and like some devotees, because I got robbed, and I told them like I have this devotee, he has a family, so I told him, and you have a wife, and you have 2 kids, and you better have a gun. And then he said, I can't shoot someone even if they rob me. So to me, like, it looks like it's really irresponsible to like for devotees to be soft, and I mean, not protecting. Okay, for myself, I can probably, like follow this verse, but for my dependents, like it's, so that's
Yeah,
what I
I
wanted
mean,
to ask.
well, right now some devotees are in touch with Ukrainian devotees. So like my daughter has a good friend and so she said, "Oh, what are you doing?" And she said, "Oh, I have a kid now," because she hadn't seen her in a long time. And my husband is fighting the Russians. So I mean, of course, they're fighting the Russians. I mean, he's a devotee, but they're fighting the Russians. I mean, they have no choice. These guys are dropping bombs, destroying the whole country, not just coming to rob one house. They're coming to take the whole country.
Yeah, no,
So
that's
they're
very
fighting.
sad.
Yeah. So of course, some people are going to Poland, other country, but others staying and fighting. So of course, there's 6 types of aggressors, right? They have to be dealt with: poisoner,
Oh, I see.
burner.
Yeah.
Prabhupada mentions that in this first chapter, maybe in the Gita. 6 types of aggressors, they should be killed.
So then
I
this
mean,
verse,
yeah, I guess a thief, sometimes they cut his hand, but usually the thief is armed anyway. You have to do something, I mean, Jersey City is dangerous. I feel bad that
very
you live there.
dangerous.
I mean, I just drove through there on the bus from the airport, the Newark airport. I mean, Newark, I don't know if you go through Jersey City, but Newark also, all those places are bad news.
Yeah, Newark's worse. Newark, and there is another like Camden. These are like war zones. I mean,
Right. So I don't know. I mean, if somehow, I guess maybe your job is nearby, if you can't move away, I mean, in Chicago, they say in one area of Chicago, the average out of 11 guys, only one would live till 64, live till 64. But they kill each other there. And outside that area, the other rest of Chicago, only 1 in 11 would die before 64. So, I mean, that's, it's dangerous. I mean, only 1 in 11 will live till 64. Usually the average is, yeah, it's not too good.
yeah, Jersey City is dangerous, and it's funny when I was actually when I went to get a copy of my police complaint. It was funny. They were giving police complaints, and they were also giving like gun licenses away. Like there was a pile of, so anybody who was victim of a crime, they came and they were handing over like gun licenses with, their complaint.
I mean, it can't always help. I mean, it can help maybe, but you don't know if they're coming there, you're not there, and this and that, or in the street, and dangerous.
Yeah, no, it's a
You can move
dangerous
to
road.
Alaska. We only have one, a little bit of crime. There's some crime, but nothing like this.
Yeah, I mean, luckily I'm not married yet, so I can survive in Jersey. But yeah, I think if I was married and I had a family, like this isn't a place to raise kids. I keep telling like other like Indian devotees, like move somewhere else. It's just a lot. It's little more rent, but it's like you get more safety, and it's yeah, this isn't a nice place, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, whoa, yeah, bad news. Haribo. The criminal world. Sometimes Prabhupada uses the terminology, the material world he calls it the criminal world.
Also, I think recently in Bangladesh, a lot of devotees were murdered for like, they didn't even provoke.
Yeah.
They did nothing and they were just murdered.
Yeah, I don't know about a lot, but some. I mean, any time though, there's a certain religion they like to do like that. So they kill each other also.
Yeah. Yeah.
I went to some lady, doctor around here, and a few years ago, and she was a Muslim, and she was Indian. I mean, she's from Pakistan. To me, she looked Indian, right? But she's from Pakistan. So she was asking, she said, I've been to your temple, but I don't understand Hindus. They have so many gods, right? And so I was briefly explaining, about Krishna and the Devas and all that. Then I said, even they have separate temples and they worship this. But one thing, they don't blow up each other's temple, I said. So I think she got my message. She didn't say anything at that. Anyway.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's I mean, it's going on in India. I mean, like, you know, like there was a young man who made like a video just saying like, he just said something like, you know, like Jesus was messenger of God, and then he said Muhammad was messenger of God, and then he showed Krishna, and then he says Krishna's God. Young man, and he just got murdered for that. I mean, I don't know what wrong he said. He just said, you know, like he was just saying like these are messengers of God, and here's God. So
He said that in Bangladesh or in Pakistan?
no, in India. It's in India.
India. Oh my God.
No,
Well,
it's getting horrible. It's well, in India, it's getting like war-like. I mean, it's every day it's getting worse. And,
was that on the news? That, I mean, he said it on the news, or he just said it in the street with some?
no, he made a video. It seems he made like a video which went viral on WhatsApp, and you know, and then someone paid. It seems like some religious leader, some like radical Muslim religious leader saw that, and he ordered the killing. So he got that poor guy, and it's like he has like a daughter less than a month old, and just for yeah. So
well, obviously, that could happen anytime, because, you know, if somebody asks any Harinam preacher or anyone, they say, "Oh, well, what is that, Krishna, blah, blah, blah." He'll say the same thing, and they didn't catch these people, huh?
I mean, they caught them. I think they caught like they caught all of them because
well, BJP should take care of them.
well, yeah, no, it yeah, I mean they caught all
They
like,
should make Hindu country, and you don't like it, to go to Pakistan, go to Bangladesh, bye-bye. There's 20 Muslim country, Indonesia, you can go there, go anywhere, go to Saudi Arabia, see how they go to Palestine. Bye-bye.
yeah, I mean, I guess makes sense for me because, you know, they got like a separate country, but they didn't leave. So that's another thing. They made a lot of violence, and in
Yeah,
the
no,
end,
I'm all for you know, Hindu twa. Anyway.
yeah, but yeah, I mean, it's getting worse everywhere. You know, it's not just you know, I mean, it's what to tell you. It's not like one can't even. I mean, what this man he said, all he said was Krishna's God, and here you have like messengers of God, and then it seems that offended a lot of people. But
Oh yeah, but that he could have, if he could have left that out, he could have just been more, you know, Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead. He has all this, you know, Baha, Pidam, Natavaravapu, he quotes some shloka. You have to be more subtle, more careful.
yeah,
I mean, Muslims, even in America, like in the Festival of India, they had a picture with different incarnations. They used to carry it around, and it was destroyed. At least there's one that shows supposed to be Muhammad, but there's no face. You know, they were careful only to make. It's in the books, so the face is covered. You're not supposed to show any face. But even they saw that, and they destroyed the picture. Somebody. Long time ago, so wow. They don't show that anymore, of course. So,
I don't know.
But yeah, they're not all the same. I mean, they have many, you know, the super fanatics, and there's some that are not so fanatical. Not exactly the same. All right. Anything else out there?
Yeah, I'm wondering, Prabhu, how do do you think it's an issue for devotees to make to be able to explain in a way that doesn't create conflict, to explain the difference between Hindu nationalism and Bhakti Yoga, which sees all people equally and people of all religions as actual followers of this, really of the same God, albeit with different levels of understanding.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be the expert on that, but I mean, Bhaktivinoda Thakur tried to describe it and, you know, put forward without burning out Muslims, I guess he was pretty successful. Because you have to be in India or and so yeah, you have to be careful.
Can you say a little more? Can you say a little more about what Bhaktivinoda Thakur, what he talked about in that regards? Is interesting.
He has so many books. So there's one book called Tattva Vivek, where he describes different religions in terms of their philosophy, and of course Jaiva Dharma also in more detail. So, and then he'll just give the Shaivites and the Shakti, and you read Jaiva Dharma, but in that Tattva Vivek, for instance, he describes Christianity, but he doesn't say. He did follow some Christianity when he was younger, but in that book, he'll say there is one philosophy that describes that God came as a human being or his own son, and takes the sins of everyone so they can continue sinning. And he said, but he didn't equate this with real Christianity, apparently, although that's the general Christian idea, And then he said, this is not understandable by normal intelligence, this philosophy that God comes as his own son, takes everyone's sins so they can continue sinning. And he just described it like that, but he never said it was Christianity. But if the shoe fits, you can kind of So similarly, he describes I forget what he said about the Muslim religion, but the Muslim religion, Lord Chaitanya, he converted the Pathan Muslims somehow or other, and he converted there was that crazy king who was a drunkard, and then there was the Shan Kazi, but we can't always imitate Lord Chaitanya. So he wasn't worried about it. Everyone else was worried. The Smartas tried to induce the Muslims to tear down Srivas's house and throw it in the Ganga. Even Srivas was getting nervous, really nervous. And then Lord Chaitanya said, what can the Kazi do even if he comes here? I can just inject him with pure love of God immediately. I can make his boat sink. I can do anything I want. But he had difference between him and us. There was a boat. There was that instance when Lord Chaitanya first took sannyas, and they got on a boat at this river. I'm not sure if it was the Ganga, and it was infested with pirates and crocodiles. And it was late at night, and the boatman took them on. There was about 5 of them, and they're going across, and there's Muslim soldiers on the other side, and there's dacoits, and then and Lord Chaitanya is chanting really loudly, in midnight, in the middle of the night, Hare Krishna, and the boatman's just really freaking out. Please stop this thing. They want to be quiet, just get across the river. Where are you going? People have bows and arrows, they could shoot them or anything, And the boatman was just freaking out. Lord Chaitanya couldn't care at all, Oh yeah. Those were the days, but still, we got so many demons in the world. What can you say? This is just pure demon. Prabhupada said these religions where their only religion is they cut your throat. That's not religion. Cutting your throat. How can you say that that's a religion? You simply cut people's throats. Mr. Sethi, he was one of the first life members. He rebuilt the whole temple in 2 nights over the weekend in Juhu, if you read the whole story. But I met him, but when he first met Prabhupada, he told the story how he was up in the Punjab where he came from, Chandigarh, and it was during the Hindu-Muslim riots, and late in the 40s. And there was a cart full of Muslims just coming down the road. And he was carrying a machete or a sword, Mr. Sethi. And one Muslim jumped off to try to do something to him. And as he was jumping, Mr. Sethi whipped out his sword and cut the guy's head off while the guy was running towards him. And his body kept running, and then he fell down. And then all the others just they got out of there real fast, you know. And Prabhupada said, "Seti, you are a real Kshatriya." When he heard that story, he said, "Seti, you are a real Kshatriya." But me, I'm not a Kshatriya. I stay away from that stuff.
Prabhu, I have one, I know it's late, but I have one more question, which I think is apropos for the times, which is in regards to, so we have right now, of course, this invasion of Ukraine by Russia. And what I'm wondering is, you know, there's occasionally we may come across devotees who embrace certain tendencies that are really antithetical to spiritual principles, such as, you know, nationalism, you know, in the past, we know of, you know, racism or religious discrimination among devotees, right? But in this case, there's occasion where, despite that, anyone who has like common sense and is all knowledgeable and has a good heart, they know that what Putin's doing is horrible, 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 right? But there, you know, we can come across certain devotees who will be like pro-Russia for doing this, but it has nothing, for a devotee who's you don't have to be too intelligent to realize it. This has nothing to do with whether you like Russia or whether you like Ukraine or whether you like America or you like, you know, one race or one religion. It's just, you know, this is someone who's not a good Russian, but who's leading the Russian people to demolish, you know, Ukraine. So my question is basically how to understand how you know, devotees of Krishna can get something like this and other things over the course of the decades totally wrong, and then what should be done about it? Because sometimes I think that devotees are wary of speaking plainly about an issue that they think could cause division among devotees, right? Because of course, there's many devotees in Russia, there's many in Ukraine, and there's other countries too where their countries are friends with Russia or friends with Ukraine, right? So maybe there may be some devotees or leaders of devotees who are wary of bringing up the issue that, hey, what Putin's doing is obviously completely horrible, because they don't want to bring out this sort of nationalistic materialistic, nationalistic tendency that is there amongst.
Oh, I mean, I'll tell you right now that last time there was a much smaller thing going on about, what, 5-6 years ago, when the Crimea thing was going on and all that. So a lot of first of all, I never saw any Russian devotees identifying with Putin. And there's a lot. There's a few hundred, more than a few hundred Russian / Ukrainian, Kazakhstani, Kyrgyzstani type devotees around here. But the whole move was to send money and it is now too, to send money to the Ukrainian devotees. There's no question of. I never hear about any Russian quote devotees. You know, like some of them have a parent that's one's Russian, one is you know, Belarusian, Russian, Ukrainian. You know, but yeah, I've never heard anybody defend Putin on this stuff. I mean, no, I haven't heard that stuff. I'm sure there is something.
We definitely heard it among some devotees through social media, and my wife knows some people in certain of the former Yugoslavian countries, and some of them identify with one group and others identify with another group. You know, just sort of like you have anti-vaxxers and pro-vaxxers. So there's a little of that going on with this. But I agree with you, of course, Prabhu, that primarily devotees get this right. but there is a little that's going on. And it reminds me also of, for example, the divide in Mayapur, what is it, 2 or 3 years ago? Can you not try to censor me? It's important. This is our class. So right, there's a divide in Mayapur, right, a couple of years ago, where Western devotees were, there was some issue with Western devotees being secure, basically, and it's a difficult issue for devotees to speak plainly about, because devotees are supposed to see Vidyaya Vinaya Sampane Brahmani Gavihastiti. So it's sort of like, it's like the ABCs of spiritual life is that there is no discrimination between race, religion, or nationality, but yet still these issues linger amongst certain factions of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And I wonder what can be, how that can be reduced.
Yeah, well, I won't solve that, but I will say a tiny thing is that because I was there in Mayapur when Prabhupada was there, and in general, I mean, if you stack up Prabhupada against, or you stack up everyone against Prabhupada, they don't get that far, because you could pile everyone on top of each other, because Prabhupada could mitigate all kinds of problems just by his existence, and he was fearless. And besides fearless, he saw through. There wasn't these problems. If Prabhupada could have lived for 700-800 years, we'd probably be a lot better off. So, I mean, the more I see post Prabhupada, and we're talking 44 years minimum, or 45 years, or 44. It's going, and time is moving out here. Chanda Vega is moving quickly. But when I think back of Prabhupada, and I think, to me, Prabhupada, his stature just increases, because there's such a big difference between such a great person and everybody else. I mean, it just there's that instance where in Jai Pataka, who knows Bengali, of course, he's not a Bengali at all. Anyone would see that, but he's made so many Bengali disciples. But at one point, he was preaching against Ramakrishna at the Rath Yatra in Calcutta. This is like, what, 20-something years ago, and or more, yeah, I don't know, maybe 30. Anyway, I wasn't there, but so down in Rath Yatra, it's crowded and huge pandal, and he was saying he was getting down on Ramakrishna, and that whole movement, he just mentioned how it was bogus, is exactly what he said, but it was enough where the crowd was flipping out, and there he's supposed to be Hindus. So Bhakti True got up and pacified the crowd, but you got to be careful. Yeah, and that's not even Muslim. That's just Ramakrishna people. That they have almost everybody's house you go to in Calcutta, they got a picture of Ramakrishna or Vivekananda or both of them. Prabhupada says, due to Ramakrishna, the whole India has gone to hell. The whole world has gone to hell. Yeah. So, but and then Prabhupada was careful. He didn't talk about that in a big Pandal situation. If someone asked him, he was so clever, he would say, "Well, no, who is that?" Like people asking about Sai Baba, this bogus guy, Guru Maharaj. He'd say, "No, I have not heard. What has he done?" And they'll be shocked, especially about Vivekananda. You're a Bengali. It happened several times. Say, no, who is this Vivekananda? Who is this? Because they try to build him up as some great hero. He went over and did something in the West, very little. But so then his standard thing was he would ask, well, what's their philosophy? And then they would tell it. Then probably say, why do you say like that? No, I'm not saying it. This is what, so-and-so said it. But you are saying, and then he'd argue the philosophy rather than name the name. So there's ways around it, even in the public forum, if we see how Prabhupada operated.
Yeah, that's an interesting and good point. Thank you.
I noticed this among devotees when there was the immunization problem, issue, and the president issue. It's always there are a few that seems like they don't have the vision of the general amount, like general devotees. We have like most of devotees have some similar feeling about this situations, like Ronald Trump and everyone should be immunized. And then there are always a few devotees that totally against it, and they totally get the side of, doesn't seem like making sense. And what can you do about that? That we all have some type of, anarthas, and they that guide us in our own way. It could be in this, it could be something else, I'm guessing. It's better not to get involved, of course, and because on another hand, we don't make a history. It's something going on over there, not over here. So no,
they use Prabhupada's argument, the same argument on both sides. Like Prabhupada said, if you're immunized, then you won't be affected by this and this and this. But practically, Prabhupada avoided immunizations. So the other side will point that out. He'll give it the theoretical example that if you are immune to something by chanting Hare Krishna, you're immune to the material energy. So he's giving an analogy. And this simultaneously, so you can say that, okay, you're immune. But he didn't get it. He didn't want shots like that. He maybe had some shots when he was small, but used to get just a card saying he got a shot or whatever. He didn't get the shot. That's why they sat him in a quarantine in Bombay. He was coming from Africa, and then there's some card that he had to show, and they had to go to his room and get it. But he generally didn't get the shots. But then again, there's a different, maybe he would get the shot if he knew it. Nowadays, you don't know. You can't guess. So it's silly to argue they don't want the shot. You want the shot. I mean, practically, you could see a lot of people died without getting the shot. A few people died of the shot too, but very few compared to how many died without the shot. But you can see practically like that. Okay, I saw this. They told me that 8 devotees a week were dying in Vrindavan at one point. They didn't have vaccines.
That's crazy.
They didn't want the vaccine.
There also conspiracy theory. I'm was listening. It was coming from some to me, and I was listening. And sometimes I think for us, we just should just stay away from all this politics and everything. Try just to pray to Krishna, to stay in Krishna consciousness, and not to get so much involved in that, even if there are someone. I mean, politics is just a part of the Maya, very strong one. Enjoyment also, some type of material.
I mean, and also there's bad propaganda, like Putin created the propaganda that there's Nazis. There's a few Nazis in Ukraine, but for that you're better than those so-called Nazis by destroying their entire country, killing every baby, and killing, So, yeah. Even if you say there's some, but who are you? It's not your country. Let them have a few Nazis. And he didn't even tell most of the young soldiers what they're going there for. Most of them are getting killed, the Russians, because they don't have any, gas, no food. They're just 18, 20-year-old kids. They don't know anything. And it's pretty horrible stuff.
Yeah.
On a lighter note, I saw this one tank that the Russian soldiers, they ran out of fuel and they went to the police station to ask for fuel, and sure enough, they got arrested because they didn't know they were in Russia or Ukraine. They thought
they didn't even know where they were.
Yeah, they had no idea. They had there was this other video of the tractor. Some gypsies, they stole a tank on a farm tractor. They took a farm tractor and stole, just steal the tank. And in another one, a person was offering to tow the stranded Russians back to Russia, and he was asking like, where are you going? And they had no idea. They didn't know where the road is going. They were just sent, like, they thought it's exercises. A lot of them were thinking it's just exercises, and
And yeah, you get so much false information. The Russians are saying they lost 500 or 600 guys, but the Ukrainians are saying, no, you lost 7,000. Sorry.
yeah, I think now it's 10,000. It's more likely like 8 to 10,000. It's
And yeah, so it's pretty much hellish for everybody there.
Yeah, it's I mean, and in Russia also it's hellish because the prices are rising, so they cannot, and also their medical supplies are, like in my company we make medical equipment, and so we're not sending anything to Russia now. Like they're not going to get any because of because they can't pay, because they are so and also I think a lot of other issues, but they're not getting even like medical supplies, or it's
well, the whole idea is that the people will rise against Putin and get rid of him,
yeah,
Anyway,
I know some people.
What country you're from originally?
Oh, I'm Indian.
Huh?
I'm Indian.
Who's that talking? I don't see. Oh, are you the guy from Jersey City?
Yeah, I'm the one from Jersey City.
Oh.
It's another war
There's
zone.
There's no one showing me anything here.
What?
There's no, the list is not published. I don't see the photos of the people or anything. I don't know.
Oh wow, I thought my video was on, so
it was before. It was when I think when you were speaking.
If you go to, if there's on your screen, there's an icon on the upper right corner, and if you hover over it, it will say view, and then when you if you click on
now I have it. Okay.
Yeah, then you have the option to click on gallery on the drop down menu, and that enables you to see everyone who is present.
All right. Gaurav, that's Gaurav?
Yes, Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you for showing up here. There's not a lot of people here.
Yeah.
Your face is blocked out where it says Zoom meeting. I don't know if I can get rid of that box. I guess I can. Let me see. Hide notification. Yeah, now I see you.
Yeah.
All right, very good.
And just to, I wanted also another. I personally think this discussion is very helpful because people are thinking about important things that are going on right in front of us, and to try to connect it to our philosophy in the Association of Devotees is helpful. But I wanted to add, since we're talking about sort of the irony of, I don't know, all of this and how devotees could get mixed up in it and everything, but how what Putin's doing doesn't make any sense. But for example, we have our assistant organizer, Sasha, here, and I feel I feel sad for Sasha because he's been suffering for a week at least, trying to make sure that his mom is okay. She's in Ukraine, and yet the irony of the whole thing is that his grandmother is in Russia. So it's like, it's like what's going on here doesn't make any sense. And meanwhile, so it just shows you the suffering of this material world and how the things that people do, there's really a lack of logic behind it all, and how to deal with it. It's almost like there's no way that you can properly deal with these issues in this material world in the long run, overall. But with Krishna consciousness, at least we can try to rise above it and then help other people too.
Yeah, I'm all for it. Like I feel pretty much, what's the word when you don't have any kind of potency, impotent. Impotent. But yeah, Putin's not a nice guy. I mean, Americans could have been smarter. They could have just said, "Oh, definitely, we will not, have Ukraine whatever NATO. Because if that's the only thing the guy wanted to hear, then okay. Then if he acted out, then you'd be right to just go in with. Right now, they're depriving the Ukraine of all their, no fly and all that. But if they'd already assured, then they could have said, look, hey, sorry, you're going into a. But the Americans, I was reading the statistic, Americans have 800 bases outside of the US, and Russia has 20, So, and, America, they went in with shock and awe. They destroyed Iraq, they destroyed Libya, they destroyed Afghanistan. So many places they ransacked over, so many places in South America, because the guys, they thought they might be communists or something. I don't know if they did such a heavy job as Putin has done, but they definitely did. If you're so worried about people blowing up the World Trade Center, those guys were Saudis. How come you didn't blow up Saudi Arabia? You went to Iraq, where none of the guys were from. So they're full of it, So that's why people don't, they still have credibility. They protect the Eastern European, Western European guys. So I think Putin was figuring that Trump would just have destroyed NATO on his own. But that didn't happen when he got out. So then Putin just freaked out. He didn't have to do what he's doing. Nobody was going after him doing anything, but he just doesn't, he's just a bad dude. He's a bad guy. At least in America, they switched leaders every 1 or 2 years so they could maybe have a chance to. But over there, it's just Putin. And he just kills anyone who tries to run against him. They should just, he needs to take a long dip in a long, deep hole real fast, in my opinion.
Hare Krishna. I had one last question about, Prabhupada. I think he made some predictions about, this whole nuclear war and, Russia getting nuked and, all that.
He made a prediction that Pakistan and India would fight, and they would have the war. But he made so many predictions. But the general prediction is there that Etam Drishtam Avashtabhyanastatmano Prabhu, the 16th chapter of the Gita, that the demons, they have no vision, and their brain is very small, and they will Kshayaya Jagatohita, they will make weapons to destroy the world. So Prabhupada said, just see, it's being predicted right here by Krishna 5,000 years ago. So whoever's doing that, Krishna knows who is doing that. You're not getting away with anything.
Yeah, I think I just have to say, when I first came in contact with devotees in 2010, I didn't believe that when they said, this world is a dangerous place, and I was thinking they're trying to scare us into, following, and I'm so.
He did a good job on you.
I'm sorry.
You joined. He did a good job on you. You joined.
So, but I was kind of, initially, initially I didn't really believe anything. They said that, it's a bad place, and, the birth, death, old age, disease, and then it's a place of suffering. But then I saw some suffering, but, I didn't imagine, COVID was the first time I thought, this, because we were hearing from a devotee who said how, because of globalization, one problem in one part spreads to all the other parts very quickly, so it's dangerous. So that was my first shock, with COVID, I was shocked how we're all under curfew. But now with this whole Ukraine situation, I hate to say it, but it looks like it's going to spill over, and it's getting really out of, I don't know if we should have practical plans to move out of New York City, or, because it's, if it could, if it can go this bad, I don't know how long before it comes here, it's, it's
Well,
scary, to be honest.
It won't matter if you're in New York or wherever you are, if it gets all the way here. And of course, the nukes will aim for, but the smallest nukes they have are 100 times bigger than the Japanese one they use in Japan. 75 years ago or whatever. 7 years ago or whatever, a long time. They don't have small little ones anymore. Those are the baby little
Yeah.
firecrackers. So
I,
everything's pretty much finished after that. I mean, yeah, you have guys, the senators now in America saying that, have to kill Putin. Usually they stay away from that, but especially with Putin, because other small-time guys without nukes, they used to say it, but that was, they're saying, no, this is not the official government position, They're trying to be careful. That's why they could go in and already in there, but he's calling the bluff. It's a bluffing game. Yeah, I'll push the button. He knows if he pushes the button, then his place is finished for sure, 100%, no question. I mean, that's why with Delhi and Pakistan, they're like 90 miles apart. I mean, they're finished. Whoever blows it, that bomb will blow themselves up. But those bombs, they stretch over more than 90 miles, a few hundred at least.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope Alachua would be safe. It's rural, so I hope.
Maybe if you're in a mountaintop in Alaska or Himalaya, maybe.
Or Haiti? You think Haiti might survive? Haiti and Dominican?
Haiti, the locals will kill you anyway. It doesn't matter. They'll just cut your throat. They won't need an A bomb or a nuclear bomb. I mean, they almost by accident or whatever, just yesterday, right? That it's the biggest nuclear reactor in the whole Europe.
Yes.
In Ukraine.
Yeah.
And
Zaporizhia.
people were freaking out because they already took it over, the Russians, and they're making everybody work by gunpoint. So at one point, if those guys who are working there, they overpower the Russians, all bets are off, they say, all bets are off.
They also went for Chernobyl. It seems the first, I don't know what they're doing, but Chernobyl was the first one they.
But that was a pure accident. But this is where the Russians have taken it over. And that's controlling the power for, half of Ukraine and all that. Or at least a big chunk. So they want to cut it off and I don't know. Yeah, whatever.
Very scary times, it's like hard to.
Pretty much everybody is pretty much stupid, bozo in the Kali Yuga. Prabhupada even said that one time. Prabhupada was talking about the scientists and a morning walk, and one devotee said, "Prabhupada, you're the only one who's talking about the scientists like this," And he just said, kind of casually, he said, "That's because I'm the only intelligent person." That's because I'm the only intelligent person. That's scary. Prabhupada's not here now. If he was the only intelligent person and we're minus the one intelligent person. I mean, there's intelligent people, that's true, but he was just saying, he said it casually, he wasn't,
Okay, Prabhu. Thank you so much for your great association. Very spiritual elucidation of the Bhagavad-gita text, and then and letting us carry the points in that class over into this discussion of current contemporary issues that are prominent and important, and connecting it all to Krishna consciousness, at least trying to. So, and yeah, it was very, very nice and helpful. I'm sure everyone felt happy about it.
I'm just thinking about all the shlokas that I forgot, or part of them I forgot. I have to go look them up now.
Oh, well, you it seemed like every third sentence was recitation of a shloka. So if there's,
I mean, yeah, or else you'll forget them if you don't speak them.
Yeah.
Use it or lose it.
Yeah, well, that's one of the highlights of the classes that you give is hearing. It's like a walking Bhagavatam, having you with us. So thank you for that. So I guess we can, since we're a little late, we'll probably
somebody else, maybe someone else wants to sing. I'm ready to to like get some more.
I think we can skip that portion of the program just because it's a little late, where it's like 7:30ish. So we can wait for kirtan for next week's program. And since you already led one kirtan today, I think, and we got so much Krishna Katha, I think we're good.
Hopefully you're getting more kirtan than me singing for 5 minutes. I don't know how, but somehow.
Yeah. Well,
Okay,
thank you so much. So if the devotees like to join me expressing appreciation for Puskar Prabhu, please join me now. Puskar Prabhu ki jai. Haribol.
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 Jai Gaura Premanande.
Haribol.
Hare